welcome back to our TimberTech decking series.
Thanks, Jim.
Yeah. This one, something I think a lot of people walking into our stores don't really think about. Manufactured decking, it's just not a structural product. Mm-hmm. It's not like a piece of 2x6 Western red cedar that's going to be pretty rigid and so forth. So with that in mind, maybe you can just talk about why it's so important for people to really have a very level deck framing when they're ready to put on their boards.
Sure, yeah. Whether it's installing the boards on a frame that's already in place or building a brand new frame, the having the joist in plane with each other is very important. Like you said, the deck boards themselves are going to follow that the different undulation of the joist. So if you have joists that are sitting a little bit higher, it will be reflected in the deck boards on the surface. So if you work with a wood product, wood is very rigid and it's going to show less. It's going to span further, so you're not going to see it quite as much. If you go to composites, it becomes a little bit more evident. And then PVC being an even more flexible product, it will show up even more on a PVC product. So starting out with all your joists being in plane, very important.
Okay. Maybe trade pros probably look at it differently. But I think if, Joe and Mary homeowner build a deck and they've got the frame done, and then all of a sudden they get to that point and say, okay, conceptually I understand that, but how do I do that? I've got a 16 by 40 foot expanse of framing. Where do I start? What do I level to, or what do I plane up to? Mm-hmm. So maybe you could share just some of your own thoughts, or maybe things that you picked up, tips from contractors over the years.
Sure, yeah. Well, most pros will use string lines or laser levels to make sure that everything is running in plane across the top. They'll use maybe a power planer before they even install their joist, making sure that the joists are installed crown up, so that the high side of the joist is up, and then using a power planer to make sure that the surfaces are all uniform across the top is a couple things that we've seen.
Gotcha. We're fortunate enough to have a customer who built a few thousand decks in his career, and he did a couple blog articles with us too. He would, part of his method was to start over the beam, and he created himself you take maybe a couple 10-foot 2x4s and screw them into an L and create a straight edge. And he'd fasten those. You'd take that flat edge of the 2x4, screw through it, and pick up every joist over the beam, suck it up tight so he knew his level. And he hadn't blocked yet on his beam. Right. So once he did that, press his blocks down. So that at least gave him, when he was done with that, he knew he was money out at the beam line. So then they could kind of go from there. All right, at least I've got something to work off of as my guide, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah. Seems like one thing that I've learned over the years is the importance of blocking with respect to keeping a deck stable and not moving. And maybe you could share what the best practices are there.
Certainly, yeah. Wood framing in general has changed quite a bit over the years. What we used to use in the past for framing lumber, little backstory, traditionally the trees they would harvest would be about a 24 to 30 inch diameter tree. And that tree would take 20 to 25 years to grow. And today, that same size tree can be grown in 8 to 10 years. As a result, what we see is the tree itself doesn't have the layers of growth rings, which takes away the density of the tree. So what we see is frames that are built from this newer lumber, fast growth lumber, aren't as rigid. And so they have more tendency to have this undulation. So one of the things that we've recommended for a long time is to add blocking every 4 to 6 feet. And that blocking will help tie the joists together. So rather than having a series of independent joists, you have joists that are locked together by blocking between them, and you create one solid substructure rather than a series of independent joists.
Gotcha. So you mentioned the growth cycle of those trees. I'm guessing a lot of that's a southern yellow pine, which is a massive part of the United States as far as...
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that perform maybe differently than a treated western hemlock up in the great Pacific Northwest.
Definitely, yes.
Oh,
there's just definitely markets where we see different, we're more reoccurring undulation claims.
Okay.
But I'll still say that undulation as far as a framing issue occurs nationwide.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. face it, the quality of wood fiber, it's just tougher and tougher to get.
Sure.
So, yeah. So it sounds like recommendations from this episode, as frustrating, as tedious as it might seem, every bit of time you can put into making your framing as in plane, as you mentioned, Pat, as possible, the end user will be a lot happier with the result.
Correct.
Yeah, appreciate it. Great tips. Another good episode. Thank you.